against this patriarchal order, give freedom to design. And when I was for the first time in Paris, which was in 1969, I missed the 60th. But in 69, the Paris was still covered with graffiti from 68. And the particular building in which they put me had an enormous graffiti saying, "Nous voulons jouir sans entrave." We want to enjoy without restrictions. And this was somehow the slogan of 68. And somehow it was seen as being in line with certain understanding of Freud, the liberation of what has been repressed so long time.
That's Foucault's understanding as well.
Hmm?
That's the way Foucault reads it.
Yes, this is why I think Foucault
misunderstands
psychoanalysis. So if Foucault says the possédé sur son désir, it's always it's against those two paradigms. Either the paradigm of restriction or paradigm of liberation. So psychoanalysis has always been, Freud has been very skeptical about the question of liberation. And liberation brings bigger problems than repression. And this is, Lacan has this beautiful thing, pun in French, he says, père ou pire. I do have, it only works in French. I do have the father's law repressing you. Or worse. You think you get rid of the father when you enjoy that. Then you. This is real. So, what is this, the ethics of desire? I mean, it's not desire, there's something in desire which is absolutely not reducible to the desire to jouir sans entrave. It's rather something, there's something in desire which in itself brings both universalization and restriction. So this would be the consensus, how can one found an ethics? How can one found an ethics? And in an unconscious, which is not seen as the sort of hodgepodge or reservoir of wild desires restricted by civilization. It's something, dysfunctional, Freud's doubts about the nature of sexuality. I mean, this has something to do with it. It's precisely the unconscious is, there's nothing natural in the unconscious. There's no natural wideness, or there is no simple tendency to debauchery, to free enjoyment in the unconscious. So this is why he sort of linked forces with the question of desire.
Well, let's reformulate it. What he wanted to mean, and I think that it misled absolutely, it's that, well, it has to do with subjectivity. Again, that's something that obsesses me. It's like some sort of compulsion. It's the fact that our ethics still emerge from a very, how to say it, identitarian place. So, identitarian in the sense that who counts as a subject and who does not. So, my point is, if we take deviation as some category similar to frontier, to boundary, that is not this nor that, would it be possible to rethink ethical command that does not that does not require some sort of identity principle to the subject, which is some sort of violence in order to be coherent and to be able to act in order to ethical demands. That would be know it's very complex and it's very long, so as I do not want to monopolize the whole time, that's something that really struggles me, because I'm not sure if this is possible, but I want to. That's it. So if it's possible to rethink the whole thing, or ethics by itself does not leave it's not late to let this challenge to rethink subjectivity in these terms.
Yes. But you ask me whether there is an ethics which would not rely on identity itself. Is there an ethics which would be outside of identity? And well, historically, I think the answer is clear in some sense. You know that Lacan made a great scandal at some point when he said cogito is the subject of the unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very paradoxical claim, because one would think that the cogito is the epitome of rational subjectivity, rationality, Cartesian rationality. The unconscious as this hodgepodge of whatever, irrational forces, displacements, whatever, that this would be at the opposite end. But now he made this connection, the link with cogito. The cogito as a sort of subversive, negative element. And there's a question of ethics and politics involved in this.
Of course.
Because the moment you, the moment you address the question of the subject, and okay, I started with this yesterday, what exactly do you mean by subject? Now let me continue a longer answer, which would be the subject emerges with cogito. The cogito is a major displacement, a major break in the history of philosophy. Because before that, we had a discussion of soul, individuality, personality, consciousness. Those were the words which covered the problematics of society, and particularly the problem of the soul. And the moment you say cogito, is the first time that the subject, the question of the subject, really appears in the history of philosophy. Because cogito is not to be substantialized. The very gesture of cogito, it's another question. Descartes then pins it down to res cogitans and turns it into substance, but the moment of cogito, this is the way Lacan reads it, is the subversive moment of pure negativity. If you read Slavoj Žižek on this, he has this recurring formulation: cogito is the crack in the edifice of being. It's a crack. It's a negative entity, and it displaces all the problematics linked with consciousness or personality or individuality or self. It's a non-substantive entity. And this is why it introduces the question of the subject. The subject without qualities. The subject without identity. If you say the subject in this post-Cartesian, if you want to follow this Cartesian cut, then it's a subject which has no identity. It has no properties. It's a subject without properties. And this is precisely how Descartes came to this extreme point, by reducing first all external and internal the certainties of senses, the certainties of intellectual certainties, or any kind of properties of thinking, or properties of self, or whatever, and coming to the pure cut. And so the subject without properties is the subject of both ethics and politics.
Yes.
If you want to speak of the subject in this emphatic manner, and you can see that the Kantian revolution after the was turning the transcendental subjectivity framework. You can see that Hegel had the central sentence: substance is subject. What is this subject? It's precisely this negative principle. Substantiality always has properties you can describe. It is what endures through time. But the question of subject, is substance being subject, is the internal principle of negativity, which undermines any principle of substantiality. So, in Hegel, I mean to say substance is idea, or substance is matter. Him, it doesn't matter. I mean, whatever, materialism, idealism, it doesn't matter. As long as you are inside of the substantiality, it's a lost cause. It doesn't matter whether a matter or idea comes first, as long as you conceive them as substance, as long as you don't see the substance as subject. So in Hegel, it's quite crucial to understand this point of subject as being a negative point about properties. And you can see another strand of thinking. You know that all major philosophers had some sort of political philosophy, proposed some sort of political theory. And there's only one exception, which is Descartes. He never had a political philosophy at all. He doesn't touch on political questions. So there's a question of what is the politics of cognition? Can there be a politics of cognition? Can one make a politics with a subject which has no properties, which is this pure cut? And, well, one line of political thinking can be that this is what defines, Cartesian politics defines modernity. Because if you speak about the subject of human rights, what is the subject of human rights? Declaration of Human Rights in the French Revolution. It is precisely a subject without properties. It means you are entitled as a subject, regardless of your social position, sex, race, creed, belongings, anything, sexual orientation, whatever. You are subject of certain rights, a political subject of certain rights, precisely regardless of any properties. This is a very, very modern idea. That it's a subject without an identity. And it's a subversive, not that I really believe in human rights. It's a sufficient framework. But the type of thinking which is at the bottom of this, to make the subject without properties into a political agent, into an agency, negative political agency. I think it's a subversive idea. It's an idea which is worth holding on to.
I have a question just very short relating to that. Also regarding the body. I mean, now you have this subject without properties, and you spoke about different properties, but my question is to what extent the body can be thought of as a property of that subject, or if rather the body can be conceived of as this subject without properties.
Of course, there's a problem of cogito being disembodied. It is a disembodied. It's disembodied not in the sense that it would be an idea as opposed to the body. I mean, it's also this idea. It's not a body. It's also not an idea. I mean, if you take seriously this proposal that it's a crack in the edifice of being, because Descartes immediately you have res cogitans, you have res extensa, you have a certain division of body and thought. You have this pineal gland, which somehow connects it to, which would be maybe the site of the drives. I don't know. The pineal gland would be the origin of this problem of the drives. Who knows? No, what I'm trying to say is that cogito as such is not an existing thing. It cannot be presentified either as a body or an idea. But it's some principle of negativity which sort of traverses both bodies and ideas. I mean, of course, this is controversial but radical way of reading Descartes. mean, there are other ways of reading Descartes, which can make kind of equally valid different points. I'm not insisting that this is the one and true Descartes, and this is the way one should read. I mean, it's actually quite complicated to make sense of the totality of his thinking, but I'm very fond of trying to make this violent gesture of interpretation, extrapolate the cognitive in this particular way, and defend the cognitive in this particular way.
So you would say cognitive is just pure negative?
Yes, yes. Yes, it would be, I mean, I would say his formula, substance and subject, would be, you know, this is where it really comes to some completion, to the full-fledged development. This moment of subjectivity involved in God. Because in Hegel, precisely, the subject is not, this is precisely what prevents any identity. It's not the agent of identity. It's what prevents identity. This is subject. And you know his analysis, well, very, of principle of identity. In the logic, it's very famous, you know, it's saying, okay, identity. A is A, I am I. It's this most self-evident assumption, but look what happens. How many A's do you see? I mean, if you say A is A, it means that the A has to differentiate itself from itself in order to be equated with itself, which means you can only have identity if it's based on a split. So split is primordial. Identity is the result of the split. And split is another name for the subject. It's precisely the split as such, which conditions any identity. And there's always an illusion in identity that one can be identical with oneself. And this is what, I mean, this is sort of elementary Hegelian insight. You need a split, you need a difference. You need the elementary particle is the split. It's not any elementary particle. The split itself is elementary. So